It's not a club per se, it's a tavern pub, which, you know, in the industry as a whole, those are the venues that are flourishing. Reset that room out of the Cupid shuffle. I mean, you can either mix in a song at 72 BPM, or you can just, like, I'll usually cold drop like Usher, yeah. You know, QH means quick hitter. Luke Bryan, some Kenny Chesney, Keith Urban. You can definitely sneak in some of that music as well.
Welcome again to another Mobile Music Thursday in the deep freeze of January, at least if you're up north like I am, you're in the deep freeze of January. And we've got a terrific guest on tonight's show. We're going to be focusing in on club and bar work and how it is to be like programming music in those different kind of clubs and different kind of environments and ways that you can up your game. It's a real pleasure of mine to be able to have the very talented and experienced Jeff Meuzelaar on the show today. Did I say that right? You smiled.
Yeah, it's correct. I'm Dutch.
Yes. Okay, good. This is an excellent start of the show when I don't mispronounce the name of my very important guest. He is a partner, vice president, DJ, performer, ninja at Pinnacle Productions in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Great to have you on the show, Jeff.
Thank you, Jason.
So we were going to talk today about like the bar and club work that you do, and some different places, and the way that you program music, because we really focus on like how we set up music, whether we're working sets or how we cross genres and how we do mixing and that sort of thing on this show, especially in and around selections. So on one of your mobile club gigs, tell me a little bit about the format of that particular venue and how and why you format it that way, by whether it's genre or if you're across the board.
Sure. Yeah, I guess we'll just talk about a venue that's below our office. So we're actually on the second floor. We're above a bar called Wiley's Tavern. I think it's a good fit for this discussion because, like, the music program we do is, you know, relatively similar to what we do on a mobile event too, whether it be a high school or whether it be a Sweet 16 or whether it be a wedding, you know, during the peak hour dance.
Great.
It's a bar. It has about a 500 capacity. You know, Saturday nights I'll do 600 or 700 people. Real top 40 pop. I mean, it's not a club per se, it's a tavern pub, which, you know, in the industry as a whole, those are the venues that are flourishing. You know, the days of the nightclubs outside of the A-list markets like Vegas, LA, Chicago, I mean, nightclubs are kind of far and few between in these B and C level markets now. So Wiley's Tavern, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, below our office here. It's pretty convenient for us. I guess, what else would you like to know about the venue? Well,
that actually creates a boon for mobile DJs to be able to take advantage of a lot of business in the smaller, like taverns, places that aren't necessarily a night club where you can bring in your gear, command a better price, and actually be charging more based around the audience that you're drawing and maintaining, rather than like, this is what we pay an employee DJ to come in for X amount of hours.
Yep.
Great. So you primarily do top 40, and you said it's a lot like a wedding. So do you cross over into country and into oldies, or like just how far back do you reach in terms of your top 40, and how across the board of genres do you pull in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we'll just look at a Saturday night when it's going to be busy. I mean, music format, like what's going over really well in bars, you know, and I've played across country too. It's the recurrent music right now. Not so much 80s, you know, you can definitely sneak in some 80s, but I would say the late 90s, early 2000s. It's a great way to build up a dance floor. A lot of the, you know, that era, there was a lot of good hip hop that wasn't considered, you know, rap music or hood. That's great for kind of setting that vibe, you know, whether it be Nelly, whether it be Ja Rule, whether it be Blackstreet. You know, there's definitely some good down-tempo stuff that's not going to be too obtrusive. It's not going to be overwhelming by any means, but it's a really good set of music to start the night with, you know. So the late 90s, early 2000s, definitely a great way to start the night off.
And working in that happy hip-hop kind of area like the Montel Jordan and, well, Sir Mix-a-Lot was in the 90s too. And with those, and is any rock out of that era, or is it really primarily focusing on that hip hop from that time?
Yeah, I mean, I was born in '85, so I graduated high school like 2004. So I mean, I'm 28, or actually 29. Shoot, I just turned 29. I know I look like 16, but so I'm on the upper end of kind of I'm probably within that median age range in the bars right now, like in the sports bars and the taverns. So it's a really good fit. I would say like Third Eye Blind, Sugar Ray, Soul Decision's not really rock. I mean, I have folders and folders of kind of that rock music, you know, even some Blink 182.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like I kind of call it, you know, sing along music.
Sure.
Just sing along anthems. You know, songs that you know by heart that you were cruising around on the gravel road in high school doing things you shouldn't be doing to listening to, you know. That's the type of music that we're opening the night with. Definitely can cross over, you know, some of that top 40 centric or more top 40 feel of country.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Line, you know, some Luke Bryan, some Kenny Chesney, Keith Urban. You can definitely sneak in some of that music as well. You know, we're in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. You know, who doesn't like a little bit of country music?
Right, right. Well, I like in the Twin Cities where I'm at, it's like country is the secret indulgence of everyone. No one will admit that they listen to the K102 radio station, yet they have the highest ratings of all the radio stations in terms of listenership. But rarely do you get a request for country, which you would expect that you'd be getting requests for it all night.
Yeah, it's one of those things where country music it's interesting because it's hard to dance to. So I mean, when we're talking about programming, you know, sets of music, and you have a packed dance floor, you have a crowd that looks like they're gonna know some country songs, whether it be "Fish in the Dark" or whether it be "Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy." You know, in the bar industry, you want to play a couple of those songs if you can get away with that without getting completely booed by the entire crowd, because it's gonna rotate that dance floor too. You know, some of the people dancing, they're like, "Oh man, like this isn't Montel Jordan. I'm gonna go grab a drink."
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you're going to have those country fans that are going to remember that one song that was played for them.
Right, right. And then you're still touching them and throwing out like the most popular ones. Like, I suppose, is Boot Scootin' Boogie one, or is that one that's burned so much that people are like, oh, this one?
No, I mean, I would probably put that brings a whole nother conversation. Like, okay, so like, is the Cupid Shuffle a song you want to play in a bar? You know, yes and no. It depends. Will it work? Absolutely. Will you kind of lose that cool factor? You know, maybe. Have I done it? Yeah, of course I've done it. I've done it in a club before. Like, you know, I've heard DJs at Aqua nightclub in Minneapolis, like my best friend. I've heard him play the Cupid Shuffle, you know, at Aqua nightclub. But
well, when you're playing the taverns, when you're playing the smaller bars that aren't a club, is the cool factor as important as, say, you know, like being responsive to the crowd that wants that, or is like, or how? Well, you know, in that type of environment where your format isn't defined by the club itself, but you're coming in and trying to define a format around the audience.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile that so that you're not like, oh, the lame-o DJ's doing XYZ and people are forming opinions about your night there, because it's more about your night there than it is about the personality of the club?
I would say definitely at this venue and at most venues that are properly structured, like, yeah, we're a sub point. So it's more about the bar. So it's not about the cool factor.
Okay.
Whereas a nightclub like Aqua Nightclub or Tangiers or Spades up in the cities, light nightclub, you know, it's a little bit more about that cool factor. At this specific sports bar tavern, I think you definitely need to take a sacrificial hit, play the Cupid Shuffle if the timing's right.
Right. If it feels like they're going to be into that, or what ways would you determine the timing being right on that, or what cues would you look for basically that someone else could replicate?
Okay, so perfect example. Let's say we're Thursday night at Wiley's. There's a group of break dancers that come in. It's awesome. Like, they're great guys. They support. They have a few drinks. They get the party going. But at what point does that become obtrusive to the people that want to dance?
Right.
You know, that's a very, very fine point. Yes, they're great early to get the crowd excited and they're a spectacle to look at. And then it's like, if we want to clear them off the dance floor without, you know, telling them over the microphone, that's
right.
Play the Cupid Shuffle, because, you know, everyone's going to come out for that. They're going to clear off the B-boys, reset that room out of the Cupid Shuffle. I mean, you can either mix in a song at 72 BPM, or you can just, like, I'll usually cold drop, like, Usher, yeah, because it's that happy hip-hop era. You know, everyone can vibe to that, whether they're 40 years old, whether fresh 21.
Right, right. And how big of age groups are you playing to at this particular bar? Is it pretty narrow, or is it pretty broad? Do they have a pretty wide audience that comes there?
On the dance floor, you know, usually 21 to 30, I would say, on the dance floor. In the entire bar, I mean, it's a pretty wide range venue. Meaning they have a pretty strong happy hour. They have a small food crowd. But I would say, like, yeah, like, the median age going out in this community is 21 to 35.
So who do you play to? Do you play to the dancing audience? Is your objective to get the, what you feel are the core dancing audience out there, or are you trying to engage every age that's there?
It's this is I mean, this is another huge discussion. It's very difficult to look past the dance floor, especially me. I need glasses. The challenge is the dance floor is 75 people. The perimeter of the dance floor is maybe another 50 people, and the bar holds 500. So if you're playing for the dance floor, your natural gut reaction in almost every venue would be to hit that hip hop music, some of the newer hip hop music. And again, this could spark an entire debate, but you need to look past the dance floor indefinitely. You need to not weigh the entire focus on how much you have people dancing, how often they have their hands up, but you want to look at the bar sales at the end of the night and just know that you gave a good overall experience, because the dance floor is a fifth of the capacity of this venue.
Sure.
And as a DJ, sometimes it steals a little bit of my passion for DJing, because I know I can't do what I want to do for the audience that's directly in front of me. But I got to think about that 45-year-old cowboy that's over at the bar buying round after round after round, and what can I do to keep him engaged?
Right. So, well, okay. So how do you do that? How do you mix it up where you don't, where you're not losing your dancing crowd by going like, oh, this DJ is going off in these directions? Because people, especially younger people, have a lot less patience now than they do to even sit through a set of something that they don't care for. So how do you work that? It sounds like it's a bit of a tightrope walk.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, like I have a skill set, like, and this is not a big head, but I have a skill set that a lot of mobile DJs don't have. I mean, I've done the club circuit. I know how to mix quickly. The best bet you can do is quick mixing. It's again another topic that you talk forever on. It's playing just enough of the song to appease them. Choosing what songs to play on, what songs not to play out. And step one, I would say, would be get on a great record pool. So if you're a mobile DJ or even club DJ, the two pools I would recommend for the best edits would be Bar Bangers. That's Bar Bangers with a Z, and then Direct Music Service. Direct Music Service, for example, Drew Pierce is one of the main guys there. He's a good friend of mine, does mobile work. But these guys, these two record pools, I mean, it's an investment. It's maybe $500 a year for each record pool, but you're going to be able to get these properly edited songs. So you're going to have an 8-bar intro on them, an 8-bar outro. You're going to have an enhanced drum, but it's still going to have the integrity of the song. These are experienced DJs out, 4 or 5 nights a week, so they know what's going to work, and they're shaping the DJ culture of how we play music. So instead of having a 4-minute cut of good vibrations, they'll have a 2-minute cut of that, where it's going to have, the right points of the song edited in, but it's going to eliminate having to play a 4-minute edit of a song. Right.
And so, how much now? When you get these select cuts from the record pool, is it like a 60-second piece with a mix in ramp and a mix out ramp? Is that kind of how it's structured, or do they vary?
Yeah, it varies. So like, there's different terminology when you're tagging music. QH means quick hitter. That means like it might be one verse, one hook, then an 8-bar outro. Hook in means they put the chorus first. SH or SE means like short edit, so like a shortened edit. In certain scenarios, I think you definitely play out a song. In certain scenarios, you might just play a hook, because no one wants to hear a terrible verse.
Right.
You just might want to sing along.
Right. Or just like take it to where it's like the most exciting part of a song, but like the whole thing isn't necessarily like is going to have them be crazy all night. They just like to sing along to that one part. So you stick that in there, it's like, oh, it's that part, and then they're off to something else.
Exactly. But you do need a polished skill set, because if you're mixing out of a song and you don't know proper phrasing, you don't know how to EQ the song out properly, it's going to be obtrusive. They're going to be singing along and the song's going to cut out, So
yeah, it's kind of like cutting off Footloose.
Yeah,
too soon.
Perfect example is the Bruno Mars Uptown Funk. That's a very hard song to get out of before the outro, because at 115 BPM or 117, whatever it is, it's so high energy and so happy. There's no current music that fits in line with that energy level at that tempo.
Yeah.
Granted, the funk Motown music, whether it be Blurred Lines, whether it be Bruno Mars' Treasure, whether it be the Bee Gees, doesn't quite have that same energy level. So you that's a song I play out
Right.
because of that, of how that music needs to be mixed.
Because you run the risk of, if you dump out too early, you disappoint them. I've done that enough times to wish it's like, oh, okay. That's, I'm thinking I'm going to mix out a Moni Moni because it's like they've heard it a million times, but they're not ready for me to mix out of it yet.
Exactly.
And now they're bummed, and I got to get them happy again. So it's like constantly, I mean, this is why we get paid the big bucks, right? It's like, because you have to be constantly thinking about, like, where are they at? Do they need to hear this whole thing, or can I get out of this? Or how much are they with me, and how much are they kind of riding their own wave?
Yep. Well, once you establish trust with an audience, and once you have that hook in, that's when you can take them for kind of a musical journey that might be really inspired by what you do as a DJ. You can kind of take them.
Explain more about what that looks like, what that is for someone that isn't familiar, about like kind of getting the hook in. I think I know what you're talking about. When during the brief window that I worked at a nightclub back in the 90s, they were always talking about, like, you just need to get into the point where you have them in your hand, and then you can take them wherever you want, and they'll ride your wave, kind of thing. Yep. So we were always, there was a light jockey and a DJ, and we were always like waiting for that moment and watching for that moment. And sometimes we'd have to tell each other, like, I'd be light jockey and I'd be like, you got him. And it's like, great. And then we'd go and do some wild stuff, and everybody just be like, woo. Exactly. So how do you if this is unfamiliar to someone watching this show, how would you approach, like, kind of like preparing yourself or even practicing toward achieving that whenever you play?
Sure.
Tough question, I know.
Yeah,
it's like to take a moment to think about how you do what you do, and it's probably second nature now.
Bars and nightclubs are a little bit easier to get that hook in if you're at a busy venue. But for all the club DJs out there playing Thursday night, Friday night when it's half capacity, those are the tough nights where you really have to focus on song selection, where you can't get someone out on the dance floor until 11:30. You finally do to the Cupid Shuffle. How do you follow that?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you play Usher. Yeah, okay. The dance floor's going. Where do you go from there? Once you've done 3 or 4, 5, 6 songs and you have a consistent dance floor, that's when you can kind of take them places. If you're a good MC, that's what you can do to reinforce that hook. It kind of just digs that hook in deeper. Weddings, if you're a wedding DJ listening,
what would a good MC look like? I mean, what kind of things would you be saying or doing that would have you be a good MC in that context?
Sure. So let's say you want to take them to, like, house music, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to house music, there's definitely builds. There's 30-second moments of silence on that. That's where you just get them excited. It can be as simple as, if you're feeling good night, put your drinks in the air, make some noise, shout out the birthday girls. Very, very subtle stuff.
Sure, just identifying different people, having fun, giving them a reason to do some call and response.
Yep, because, like, house music, on these big builds, people don't know what to do during the build-ups because there's no beat.
Are there any do's and don'ts in terms of emceeing? Like, if you're calling out, like if you call out for a response, but you get a really tepid response or a really lame response, like they weren't really quite with you in that energy moment. Like, at what point do you go at it again, or do you wait and try a different approach?
I'll tell you what. I don't talk a lot on the microphone in a nightclub setting unless I've been drinking. That's just me.
Sure. No, I mean, everyone's got their style and the way that they do it. So
I think, and I've been in both areas where I play a lot of nightclubs where they don't want us to talk.
Mm-hmm.
In a bar, I think you definitely want to push drink specials. It's that fine point, like, of being a martyr. It's like, that's why we have MCs and we have, hype people at nightclubs. We have hosts because they're the ones that have to go out on the limb, and they know that they're the ones that have to build energy. They're not gonna have any response the first time they're on the mic usually, Yeah. But it's more important as an MC to be engaging before there's a dance floor. So, like, that's the most important time. It's encouraging them to get on the dance floor. Once you have that hook in, I mean, all you need to do is, like, put your hands up. Whatever.
Right, and they're ready to go. They're on board.
Scoop drop, hotkey, and you don't even need to talk. But it's really trying to get their trust. It's getting them, to trust you and engaged with you before you've set that hook.
Right, and probably always being complimentary is probably going to get you much further. I've heard DJs before where they'll be like, "Hey, everybody," and they don't get much of a response. They'll be like, "That was lame. You guys are so lame. Come on." And I'm thinking like, well, putting down your audience isn't really going to get them like, well, we got to get better for this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you have some kind of relationship where they're like, "Oh, he's giving us crap," where it's interpreted that way. Otherwise, the having your audience turn on you is always a risk as well.
No, I agree, and I mean whether all event types, I think there's that fine balance. I think we're seeing a shift in the style of emceeing and style of DJs than it was 10 years ago, where it's a little bit more of being a master of ceremonies and being engaged, and like we talked about the entertainment experience, than being obtrusive and being annoying and being a look at me. I'm here to play the chicken dance and talk on the microphone and talk between every single song. There's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And I think the entertainment experience, plugging you guys for what you do, I mean, I think that really brings to light some of the misconceptions of mobile entertainers in general.
Yeah, having purpose every time you're going to do something. Because I'm sure that, like you say, you don't talk much on the mic at the club, but if you're going to say something or you're going to do some kind of MC, you're doing it because there's a specific reason you want to get, not just to get them to, I just want to get them to respond because it's cool. But you actually have a purpose, an answer to the why you're going to do that before you even set out to do it.
Exactly. Like everything, it's not that we don't talk or I don't talk on the microphone, even if I'm sober.
Oh no, I didn't mean to apply that, but
yeah, it's with a purpose. Absolutely. I think it's whether to engage the audience, it's whether to push a special, to try to rotate the dance floor, or just to create a better experience. So there's always purpose to when you speak.
Right. That's awesome, Jeff. It's no wonder that you have been extraordinarily successful working with bars and clubs, whether it's the nightclub or the tavern. Like I really hear that you really get the bar business. You really get why you're there, what they're there to sell, and really generating that experience so it's conducive to that. And that like totally comes out. This is going to be like a super valuable show for anybody who's out DJing or working in that niche and wants to expand and command higher rates and do better results. This will be really, really insightful. Jeff, thanks for coming on the show. I could tell like there's 5 major conversations that we could have launched off in for another hour during the show. So let's do this again and let's cover some of those bases. You're really insightful. I really enjoyed having you on the show.
All right, Jason. Thanks so much. And everyone listening, I graduated Jason Jones, Bill Herman's entertainment experience. We put some other guys in our company through it. It's very, very good, very insightful. And I think since I've been there, man, like first wedding, definitely could tell a difference.
Awesome.
Bar and nightclub even. I think being a strong MC and speaking with purpose and engaging, that's one of the big overriding factors that we talked about, engaging and connecting with your audience. Definitely check it out, guys.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much, Jeff. I appreciate that. Take care, my friend. This is Mobile Music Thursday on DJNTV. We'll talk to you next week.